All right, let's take a look at page 3 of this project 4. You're asked to fill in a spreadsheet once again. This one is for selling price and profit, and they want you to fill in the missing amounts. We're just going to go one line at a time. So notice the first line that's missing is this one, has some missing portions. Okay. Notice they give us all the information like the workbook problems we had. We have our selling price per unit, the forecasted sales, the fixed cost. We don't know the fixed cost per unit. We don't know the gross sales. Okay, so let's go one thing at a time. Fixed cost per unit. How do you find that? Well, cost per unit means your dollars divided by the number of units you're selling. So we take the fixed cost, which in this case is $85,000. Notice I have the formulas down here that you'll need. Divided by the unit sales. How many units are they forecasting to sell? Well, for this line, it's 11,000. So we take 85,000 divided by 11,000. And when I do, I get $7.73. So I would put $7.73 right there. Notice it's also, when I add the variable cost to that, I get the total cost per unit. $7.73 plus $3 did get me $10.73. The other thing they want to know is the gross sales. Well, gross sales is your total before you take out your costs. So for gross sales, like it says down here, is your selling price times the number of units you're going to sell. So let's find that information. What was our selling price per unit? It was $12.25. So we're going to take $12.25 times the forecasted unit sales. They forecast to sell 11,000. So before they take out costs, this is their gross sales, and it comes out to 134,750. So in this section here, I put 134,750, and I did change some numbers on this spreadsheet so to show you how to do each one rather than just give you the answers. So make sure you actually go through and find the answers. Right, that we're going to go to the next line. Okay, so on the previous page we did this line. We're now on line 2. Line 2 has all the information except for our possible net profit. So we use our net profit formula, which says we're supposed to take the selling price. So what was the selling price of the item? It says $12.65. Minus the total cost per unit. Now make sure you use the right one. Here's our fixed cost per unit. Here's our variable cost per unit. We want to use the total cost per unit, which was $11.50. And then we're supposed to multiply that by the estimated unit sales. How many they're estimating to sell? 10,000. Okay, do parentheses first. So do the $12.65 minus $11.50. That gives you $1.15, and multiply that by 10,000. When we do, we get 11,500. Okay, so pretty low, but that's my number I would enter right there. Okay, let's move to the next line in the spreadsheet. So again, we already did our line here and our line here. We are now on line 3, which is missing 3 places. Okay, it's missing, first of all, the fixed cost per unit. Again, for fixed cost per unit, we follow this formula here. We take our fixed costs, which were totaled 85,000, divided by our unit sales. How many are they planning on selling? It says 9,500. Okay, when we do that, we get $8.95. So I would enter that right here in this cell. Next, we're asked for the total cost per unit. Well, total cost per unit is your fixed cost per unit, which we just found to be $8.95, plus your variable cost per unit, which it says is $3. Okay, that gives us our total cost per unit of $11.95. Okay, the final thing we're asked to find is the possible net profit. So again, we use our formula here for net profit. I'm going to do my calculator at the top because my bottom's kind of cut off here. So we're supposed to take the sell price of the item, which it says was $13.15, minus the cost per unit. Make sure you do the total cost per unit, which was $11.95, times the unit sales, which they were planning to sell 9,500 units. Do your parentheses first. So 13.15 minus 11.95 gives us $1.20 or 1.2, and take that times 9,500. Okay, that gives me $11,400, and I would put that right here in my spreadsheet. Okay, on to the last line of our spreadsheet. Okay, so last line has 2 blanks missing. You are missing the gross sales and the possible net profit. Again, the gross sales is how much you're going to get in sales before you take out any of the cost. So you take your selling price per unit, which was $13.65 for that last line, times your forecasted sales, which was 7,500. Okay, when we do that, we get $102,375. So my gross sales is $102,375. And finally, my possible net profit. Again, I just used the net profit equation. Take the selling price, which for this item was $13.65, minus the cost per unit, which here it says, that's not going to work out well. Let me change this, which makes my spreadsheet bad, but we'll put that at $12.33, so this will actually work out. You can't have your cost more than you're selling it for. And then multiply that by the number of units you're planning to sell. In this case, 7,500. Do your parentheses first. So we're going to go 1365 minus 1233 gives me 1.32, and then multiply by the 7,500. And when I do, I get 9,900 with one little error correction. That won't be an error on your spreadsheet, just mine that I created. Okay, so there are all of the formulas and all of the steps you'll need to complete page 3 of Project 4.